Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fund It Fast Chat. I'm Rochelle Butler, Energy Manager with the San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Organization. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, and I hope everyone is having a great week. We will get going momentarily, but first, let's go ahead and take care of our housekeeping. Please make note that all of your microphones have been muted upon joining the call. This is simply to minimize background noise. As always, if you have any questions, I encourage you to go ahead and submit them using the chat box. You may do so at any point during the presentation, and we will be sure to save some time at the end to address those questions. Next, I would like to invite everyone to go ahead and connect with us. You may do so on any one of our many platforms. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, Spotify, or you can just reach out the old-fashioned way via telephone or email. And if you didn't quite get all that, don't worry. Just remember that you can access any of our resources by just going to our website, and that's at sjvcleanenergy.org. Once again, that's at sjvcleanenergy.org. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So this morning, we are discussing the Transformative Climate Communities Implementation Program, or TCC for short, which is an awesome grant program. But before I jump into those details, I would just like to take a few quick seconds to talk about past Fast Chats where we've covered similar topics. So the TCC is a community-driven grant program, and we have covered quite a few community-driven grant programs in the past. Many of these programs do cycle periodically, so I would encourage you to check them out when you have a moment. We've covered the EPIC Grants Program, we've covered the Connected Communities Grant Program, as well as the Equitable Community Revitalization Grants Program. So there's tons of great information there and resources that might help you out. While you are over there checking out our YouTube page, please don't be shy. Go ahead and click that like button and subscribe to our channel. This helps us out a ton, and even more importantly than that, it helps folks just like yourself to find our content. Okay, now we're ready to jump into the topic of the hour, or the quarter hour, if you will. A little bit of background about the program. So the program is administered by the California Strategic Growth Council, or SCG for short, and that's in partnership with the California Department of Conservation. So this program is funded under the state's General Fund Climate Budget. It actually began as part of the California Climate Investments, which is a statewide initiative that infuses cap and trade dollars into reducing GHG emissions, strengthening the economy, and improving public health and the environment. And there's a really huge focus on disadvantaged communities there. The program actually began in 2016, and so this is actually the fourth cycle, but hopefully not the last cycle. So let's get into some high-level overall goals of the program. So there are mainly 5 goals of the program. They are looking to find projects that will maximize climate, public health, environmental, workforce, and economic benefits. In adopting the guidelines, the Strategic Growth Council shall consider whether eligible plans and projects avoid economic displacement of low-income disadvantaged community residents and businesses. The Strategic Growth Council shall award grants for projects that demonstrate community engagement in all phases. So that's a really big one. Also, by making such comprehensive public investments, it is the intent of the legislature that private resources can be more effectively catalyzed to support innovative community and climate transformation in disadvantaged communities, and SGC and all funded entities shall endeavor to identify additional public and private sources of funding to sustain and expand the program. And then finally, SGC shall fund technical assistance providers to assist in application development and project development, as well as implementation. So that is an overview of the program goals. So now let's take a little look at specifically what the program does. So there are 4 things that the program does. It funds the implementation of neighborhood level proposals with multiple integrated projects. It empowers communities to choose their own strategies for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and achieving community benefits. It prioritizes California's most disadvantaged communities. So those would be the neighborhoods ranked in the top 25 of Cal EnviroScreen 4.0 is the guideline that they're using. And the TCC program was developed through a transparent and stakeholder-driven process, including a statewide summit and workshops being held throughout California. So the community engagement piece is really important here. All right, so that's all the high-level stuff about the program. Let's talk about the basics. How much, what, and when, which the when I will cover in the slide coming up next. So there are 2 categories of awards for this program: implementation and planning. Awards under the implementation category will fund neighborhood level proposals that include multiple coordinated projects that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and achieve other community benefits. So awards in this category will total 3, so there'll be a total of 3 at $35 million apiece. The grant terms are 6 years, which consists of a 5-year project completion period, followed by a 1-year performance period during which the project outcomes will be monitored. Awards under the planning category will fund activities to prepare disadvantaged communities for future funding opportunities in programs that align with the TCC's program objectives. So that's actually a really great opportunity that organizations can use these funds to prepare themselves to go after either the implementation funding under TCC or another funding source that has similar goals. So there's some flexibility there. There will be 4 of these planning awards, and they will total $300,000 each. These grant terms are 2 years, and they may be extended on a case-by-case basis, so just depending on those individual circumstances. Okay, so now for the when, as I mentioned just a second ago, what kind of time do we have? So don't worry, there's still some time. So what I have here on your screen is an overall rundown of the timeline. So I'll just start at the beginning. The final guidelines, the program manual, if it will, the guidelines for the program, I will send out a link to those in our follow-up email, but that was actually approved on February 24th of 2022. The official notice of funding availability, or some of you may know it as the NOFA for short, was released on March 28th of this year. There was an application workshop on March 11th, 2022. If you're here, I can only assume you probably missed it, but if you did, don't worry. If you would like to revisit that workshop, be on the lookout for our follow-up email today. I'll plug our email one more time. We will be including a link to both the recording of that workshop as well as the slide deck of the presentation, so whichever you prefer to use. Okay, so next on the timeline we have requests for application technical assistance. Those were actually due on March 25th, 2022. So this part of the process is really for organizations that wish to get assistance with the technical portion of the application process. It's incorporated into the process to assist disadvantaged communities that may not have that internal infrastructure to develop a proposal. So if you missed this part of it, don't worry, it's not a required portion of the application process. there are lots of other resources out there that would be helpful for you too, and I'll mention some of those as well. Coming up pretty quick is the pre-proposal deadline on April 22nd of 2022. So expanding upon what I just mentioned about technical assistance, this part of the process is also built in to assist applicants. Through the pre-proposal process, the SGC will assist applicants in finding resources, including finding project partners to strengthen their applications, as well as to provide feedback on their proposals. So if you are interested in this opportunity, this may be the part of the process you want to get started with. And then finally, probably the most important date on here is that final applications will be due on July 1st of 2022. Awards are expected to be announced in October, with a post-award consultation process before implementation occurring roughly 3 to 6 weeks after that. Okay, so now let's talk about project strategies. So the implementation grant applicants must select a combination of projects, or must select a project that incorporates a combination of 3 or more of these project strategies. So I won't go into too much detail here in the interest of time, but the different project strategies range from equitable housing and neighborhood development and its 3 subcategories. It covers things like transit and rail projects, solar installation, energy efficiency, our favorite, urban greening and green infrastructure, and even health and well-being, just to name a few from the list. So there are quite a few different avenues that you can take in the interest of this proposal. Now, next, I wanted to take a quick second and just talk about past awards and awardees. So you can see on your screen here, round 1 awardees are in dark blue, round 2 are in orange, and round 3 are in green. So I pulled this graphic directly from their website, and I think it's really important because we can get a couple of things from this graphic, right? I wanted to point out that some awardees that got the planning grants and then ended up in a later round coming back and getting the implementation grant award. So that's pretty cool. One example of that is the city of Stockton. They applied for the planning grant in round 1 and then came back in round 3 and got the implementation grant. Another example of this would be the city of Riverside, also on there. My other reason for displaying this graphic is to show you who among your neighbors has been through this process successfully and whom you may be able to lean on for some resources or helpful information. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and move on. The Strategic Growth Council has a number of case studies on their website. So don't worry about scrambling to find it, though. I will include a link directly to that page in our follow-up email you'll get later on today. But the one I wanted to touch on is the city of Fresno, primarily because the SJV CEO office is located in Fresno, and we love when we get the opportunity to talk a bit about what's going on in our neck of woods in our neck of the woods, so to speak. So the city of Fresno was rewarded an implementation grant during round 1 of this program, and it's called the Southwest Fresno Project. So it's still in the construction phase, some aspects of it, but it will include, when it's all said and done, it will include the construction of 56 affordable homes, solar panels on over 200 homes, energy efficiency improvements on 200 households, 2,500 new trees, 17 acres of park and community garden space. That will also increase the frequency of the electric bus system. It will also create new electric vehicle and bicycle sharing programs. And finally, the last thing would be the new West Fresno City College satellite site. So that's pretty exciting there. So all the final numbers for the project, the whole project will cover about 4.9 square miles. It will include 13 implementation partners, and it's estimated to save over 28,000 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. Their grant award was $66.5 million. The city of Fresno also leveraged another $85.5 million to support the project. So that's a pretty big project. All right, so that's everything that I have on the Transformative Climate Communities Grant for now. So I'm going to take a quick pause here for any questions. Once again, if you have any questions, please take a couple of seconds. Go ahead and drop them into the chat box if you haven't already done so. And while folks are working on that, I would just like to remind everyone to please look out for our follow-up email later on today. That email will have links to all the related fast chats that I mentioned at the top of the presentation, so you don't have to go searching for them. That email will also have links to important resources and information that I referenced during the presentation as well. Lastly, take a quick second and just add us to your email contacts. We want to be sure that you're receiving our communications so that you can stay up to date on what's going on around the partnership. And once again, that email is info@sjvcleanenergy.org. Now, I'm going to take a look at our chat box and see if we have any questions. I have one question here from Pam. I'm sorry, I think I missed it. Is DAC determined by Cal Enviro Screen? To answer your question, Pam, as far as I could tell, the answer to that is yes. But I will double check on that, and I'll provide a response also in our follow-up email if that works for you. And that's the only question I have, so I will go ahead and close this out. I encourage everyone listening to please share the fast chat with your friends and your colleagues. You never know who might benefit from this information. What's next for the fast chat? We will be back on May 10th. As we are approaching California's fire season, I thought it would be timely to discuss the Environmental Enhancement and Mitigation Grant Program. There's a lot of heavy focus on enhancement and mitigation of green spaces and natural resources, so more on that next month. Of course, I hope to see you all for every episode of the Funded Fast Chat, but if you can't make it for whatever reason, just remember all fast chats are recorded and can be accessed through our website or by going directly to our page on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel while you're over there. As always, thank you all for joining us this morning. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you all stay safe and stay healthy. And until next time, take care.